Welcome to the Business Legends Podcast, where we interview business leaders and entrepreneurs so that you can learn from their mistakes, grow your own inspiration, and pump up your bottom line. My name's Reese, the host of the show, along with my best friend in the entire world, CEO of Business Marketing Solutions Group, Christian Webb. Say hello.
You know David has the intro recorded, right?
David definitely has the intro recorded. And speaking of which, we are alongside the greatest videographer of all time, the artist formerly known as David Woodruff, Mr. David, who's off camera right now, but we're going to show him some love. Give him some love.
The Picasso of video.
The Picasso of video. the Leonardo of videography, which is even more impressive because Leonardo's also a Ninja Turtle. So show him some love at genesisfilm.tv. Today, our guest is Miss Cassandra D'Alessio. Did I get it right?
You did.
Alrighty. She is with Next Page Brand Strategies, but her website is turnthenextpage.com, and she is a brand development extra special extraordinaire. Cassandra,
yes, we did.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are we doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, brand development and strategy. We had coffee before this, and we discussed how a lot of folks, it might be the last thing that they think about, but unfortunately, it should be one of the first things that they think about.
Should be in that handy-dandy business plan.
Yeah, it should be like, what are you going to do? And people know what they're going to do, and they don't know how they're going to do it. And a lot of times they know why they're going to do it, but they don't know what their message is going to be when they do it, so to speak. So how did you get into brand development? What's been the course to develop your own business and go on from that?
Yeah, my background's in writing, and I was a teacher for a long time, and what I taught was, knowing your identity and knowing your audience and what you're saying and who you're saying it to. So When I started my business, I realized that was a major gap for a lot of businesses because they don't know who they are when they start, or they might think they do, and then that changes every 6 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people know what they want to do, but not what they are.
Yeah, not who they are, or not maybe even their ideal client. Nope. So I hear that a lot, like, I want to work with startups, and I'm like, yeah, startups have no money. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
Sure that's what it is.
Are you sure that's your goal?
Yeah.
Excuse me. How often do you find that what they want to do and the things that make dollar and cents to make sense, so to speak, don't really match up? So just like that scenario where you have somebody that wants to work with startups, but startups don't have the cash to make it work, so to speak. How often do you find yourself rebranding something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say in my first 2 years of business, that was more often the case than not. Okay. And then I made a requirement I wouldn't work with businesses if they were younger than 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
So by then, they know who they are.
Yeah, that definitely segments your audience a little bit, too.
It's also Billie Jean's preference.
Is it? That's interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Speaking from personal experience, it seems like the folks that are the solopreneurs and people that don't have anything better to do than to micromanage folks when they're providing a service for them, so to speak. It seems like they create the majority of the problems as well. And especially younger businesses, startup businesses and stuff, it's one thing to say that they want to try something like that, but whatever the service happens to be, it doesn't matter if you're selling widgets or providing a service, but it seems like when you have a startup, they want to try all these things, but by the same token, they don't really have the financial means to be able to stick with something and see it through to fruition. So in our industry, for example, we might be marketing for a startup, and when they start it up, they want to change something every day or week or whatever, and we don't even have the data to give them an answer on whether or not something's working or not. So from a branding perspective, the golden retriever that just went by just totally distracted. By the way, I almost went in the middle of a video, so I did it anyways. But so from a branding perspective, working with companies that are 5 years or more older, how do you go about breaking the foundation, so to speak? So like you said, they are established, but what do you do in order to recreate their brand?
Yeah, well, and it's not even so much as recreating it, it's just getting it out of their heads and on a paper, literally. So we talked about that because I was a teacher. I have literal worksheets, and we sit down for like 2 to 2.5 hours, and we talk through, okay, well, who do you think you are? Who's your audience? What are your pain points? Things they know, but it's on paper. And then I'll help them craft a story like, okay, if this is your audience, this is who you're trying to reach, and this is how you need to reach them. So, yeah.
And do you find that what are some of the most impactful things that you do on a day-to-day basis for these companies? I mean, is it things like mission statements, or is it something like recreating the corporate culture, or give us a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah. Everyone loves a good slogan, so I do that. I don't do a ton of mission statements. Usually that's the business owners. Because I know you guys were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they want their business to be.
Yeah.
I might touch it, but more so slogans, anything that's customer facing. They get really excited about that stuff. And then the consistency of just pushing stuff out, and social media is usually the big push.
Absolutely.
So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do a lot of LinkedIn for B2B.
Yeah.
And people just get really excited, like, oh, hey, I saw your thing on LinkedIn and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, awesome. People notice that their story's being noticed, and they like that.
There's no way to consistently make a good campaign branding strategy or anything if you don't have like at least a topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Our mission statement, by the way, is it should be Business Marketing Solutions Group. Christian tries to irritate Reese until Reese's head explodes. that should be our complete.
I like it.
Statement.
We brand off of that.
It's literally every single thing on a day-to-day basis.
Hey David, can you make heads explode in your videos?
That's what we need to do. We're gonna get David in on some special effects.
It's like we do Google ads.
Yeah, just use the same thing.
So she's laughing. I'm telling you, this would be a good video.
See, we can make it work. I'm telling you. Like you might not believe me, but it'll just be.
David, you need to practice heads exploding.
I just had this idea of me sitting at my computer or whatever, and then you like coming in, because sometimes he'll just like launch my door open just to irritate me for no other reason, Hey, how you doing? Or whatever, and just like a video of Christian be like, hey buddy, like coming through, and just me looking over and something.
I think
like
we found our version of Andrew Mull's videos.
Dude, just head explosions constantly or whatever. And then, I mean, honestly, on a day-to-day basis, like I always joke, whenever I have a stack of papers to do or a stack of tasks, whatever that is, because we're mostly electronic. But whenever I have a stack of tasks, I'll get them all the way down to like where I got like one or two, and I start kind of free riding with it or whatever. And then Christian will come in and be like, here you go, buddy, and he'll just launch like 150 more tasks.
Well, I mean, if you ever see that bottom one, it's a bankruptcy slip. So
right, so,
like you're not supposed to see the bottom.
I keep it there just in case.
That's right.
Just in case we gotta rebrand. Hey, there it is. Full circle, baby. Business legends. We make it happen. So, continuing on customer-facing stuff, mission statements, taglines, slogans, LinkedIn, business-to-business presences, and things like this. What would you say? I want to dig into a little bit of what you think is some of the most valuable stuff that you do. So, is there anything that you've done maybe in the past year or two where you were like, man, that was really excellent as far as the quality of work that I did for that person or whatever? You don't have to be specific about the company either.
Okay. I mean, everything I do is quality and amazing.
Obviously. You are the branding explosion.
Even quality spread like peanut butter and jelly.
Let me rephrase. So how about
what was your favorite high quality product?
What was your favorite out of the highest? I give up. You know what I'm asking.
I do. So any content calendars you do is really, it's so easy and simple, and no one does it. So it makes it.
He's about to pitch in on something, and my head is already starting. I'm already starting to feel the explosion happening. So.
Speaking of a content calendar. I'm not going to throw you under the bus today.
You can do it.
He's only been working on one niche for like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be starting the medical niche, because we work with a lot of medical companies, like surgeons, dentists, doctors.
Yep.
And he's supposed to be focusing his personal pretty face on medical branding.
Okay.
And he might or might not have not even created the group yet.
Yeah. Not the point.
And we started at the same time. Mine's already started, like 13 pieces of content on it, like growing and all. We got things going.
Yeah.
I'm just more productive than Reese.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what the case is. Without any interlusion of
nobody needs to know what else goes on.
Tasks, it's just I don't do my job on a day-to-day basis.
I went to his house at 2:00. He's napping, snoring.
I do nothing. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey, you're an entrepreneur. You don't have to get up before 8:00, right?
Yes, I told her that too. I was like, you don't have to wake up before 8.
Yeah. See, it works out.
But you have to work at 11 sometimes.
Actually, rude ass. What I was talking about was the gift of love that you got.
The content calendar.
Yeah. So he actually so he chose to throw me under the bus instead of what I was actually talking about.
But at the same time, I bought him the content calendar for a reason. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Right. So he actually he's like, hey, I got you something. You're really gonna like it, bro. Because we give each other little tokens of brofection, if you will. And he comes into my office like he does, hey bro, opens the door and scared the shit out of me, he's like, here you go, man. It's my gift to you. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And he actually bought us these content calendars, which was, I think, Christian's subtle way of saying, get your shit together and start planning it out. So it's interesting.
It's a really cool calendar book too, though.
Yeah.
This thing lets you
Good
plan.
resource.
It's from the top to bottom. Like you got main topics, like little less broken down, a little more broken down. Then you have micro topics.
Yep.
So like it lets you break it all down, then slide it onto a monthly calendar that doesn't overlap with your normal calendar, so you can organize it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like-
And are you tracking analytics and all that kind of stuff on there too?
Of course.
Well, we can't track analytics in a workbook,
Okay.
but if I was doing it in a real calendar, I could.
Okay.
Yeah, but on the ad perspective.
This is more of
Yeah.
like a thought process setup. Like go home, sit in the recliner,
Yeah.
start going at it.
Yeah, or maybe take a nap at 2, whatever it takes. Research shows, by the way, that those of us that nap for about 15 minutes in the middle of the day get much more done than those that don't.
That's good for 15-minute nappers.
Yeah.
What about the hour and a half ones?
I don't
Yeah.
take hour and a half on.
I'm an hour and a halfer.
Yeah, so is he. He'll be like, wake me up at 15. I'll come back like after writing an essay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be good. Everything's fine. But I've actually been thinking about that a lot, the content calendar stuff. I feel like people, they might put a lot of energy into creating one piece of content, and unfortunately, we live in a society and a time where it's not. God, I feel like I'm Gary Vee right now. It's not
Gary Vee.
It's not just one piece of content. You have to create multiple content, just in case the content's not enough content for the content.
He
Like,
always
that's-
makes Gary Vee sound like Arnold.
That is how Gary Vee sounds. Like I can't.
He does
help
not
it.
sound like Arnold.
Well, it's because I have much more muscle density than Gary Vee, and therefore, I am the.
We should invite
Arnoldized-
Gary Vee for an arm wrestling contest.
He would. He'd probably hate me because I give him so much shit. Actually, he'd probably love me because I feel like he needs people to keep him in check.
Yeah.
He's just on fleek all the time. He's content. You gotta create more content. Whatever. But anyways, to the point, I feel like people don't plan their stuff.
No.
They might create one piece and they just expect it to run forever and do whatever, and they don't even think about. I always think about the ad perspective, but they don't think about ad recall.
Right.
All ads have recall to them, and that's why the longest. By the way, do you guys know what the longest standing ad ever was? This would be interesting to know if you know.
I don't know.
No. No.
No.
Oh, Tootsie Roll Pop.
That's how many licks it takes to the center of a Tootsie Pop. It's the owl. The owl.
Yeah.
And I just did the sound, and you guys knew.
Yeah, I
what
knew
it
what that was. Yeah.
So the ad recall was not too great for that. Everybody loves Tootsie Pops.
You
So,
probably
I
weren't
actually
born
hate
yet.
Tootsie Pops.
yeah. Well, you don't like Tootsie Pops?
No, I hate Tootsie Pops.
What are you, a terrorist? Like what?
Yeah.
You're not American.
like what are you even? How do
It's
you
not even a good candy.
get out of here? Get out of here.
Sour worms, Tootsie Pops. Like sour
If
worms.
I had a Tootsie Pop right now, you wouldn't eat it.
No.
You're full of shit.
I wouldn't
You
even
would.
touch it.
You're full of shit. You would.
It gets you
We're gonna talk
sticky
about
all
this
the
later.
time.
We're gonna argue. We're gonna argue.
We'll talk
that's
about
just
that
gonna be what happens. So you see some of these big brands, Cassandra. Let's focus the conversation on our guest, a-hole. So you see some of these big brands. Yeah, are there any brands that you can think of that could really use your help with brand development?
Tootsie Pops.
Oh, I'm not glad we went full circle.
Oh man, that's a big question. So, I come from nonprofits, right?
Yeah,
so I was a marketing director to a nonprofit, and I would have loved to, focus my business on nonprofits, but I needed to eat, so that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Small business, nonprofits can't do it.
Yeah,
Right.
can't do it. But they all, them and breweries all kind of have the same response whenever they're talking to you about their marketing.
Sure.
Like, okay, well, what drives people to come to your brewery? Well, it's our beer, man. Like, okay, well, everyone says that, so it can't be your beer. It's got to
Right.
be more than that.
It's not your shitty tasting beer.
Yeah.
Like all beer tastes like shit. Like it's not
We're
your
fighting later. This conversation just got to fighting. Like
It's
that's
the
where
theme.
it is.
Like it's like places
David,
like
go ahead and
hey,
the
Rich
explosion
Moyer.
mode.
It's like the theme, like hopping, for example.
Yeah.
Beautiful theme. You've been there, right? Like
I haven't been to that one, but
so
I know it.
You gotta
yeah.
go. So
Yeah.
it has like self-serving
In-house is the other
digital platforms. Like
Yep.
there's no waitresses.
He was our
trying to
guest
clean up people.
2 weeks ago. I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like beautiful setup, and
Mhm.
that's a theme that I would go and just hang out. I'd have a nasty beer, sit back, and relax with my friends there.
Yeah.
There's some places I wouldn't go. It's like I
We're
don't
fighting
know.
later.
Fighting later.
All right, so what were you saying though?
But so breweries will say that about their beer, and
Yeah.
then nonprofits will say that about their mission. Well, that's our mission. Well, everyone's got a good mission, so why
Sure.
should people give you money versus someone else?
Yeah.
So I wish that it'll probably be another 50 years before nonprofits kind of catch up to that. But
create brand around
we actually
brand.
We actually almost had a contract with an enormous nonprofit without saying their name, but it was like
let's not get sued, please.
Yeah, they were just too far behind.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like
they pulled the plug at the last second. Unfortunately, it was going to be a humongous.
They had a young person who was really like hip with technology.
Yep.
And they were like kind of head of marketing for the Southeast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then they wanted to like push this, and then I guess everybody on the board nationwide was like, we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
And they stopped the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised.
Hashtag capitalism, baby. That's the way it is. You know,
I'm just surprised.
He has this point. Christian and I argue about this, just like everything that we talk about. But he talks about cell phones. So his point is that cell phones are one of the only categories where, surely to God, we have the technology available to have like the iPhone 45 by now because of the way that everything's advancing.
Yeah.
But they have to create a product life cycle so that the company can continue to create profits and you know, that type of thing. So,
yeah, it makes it where they don't even have to improve the product quickly either.
Right.
They don't have to because they know you're going to purchase a certain amount until the negative returns start to hit.
Yeah.
And then they have to launch whatever the new thing is.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally it.
The thing that's even more bizarre is that they even design these phones, software and hardware both, so that it becomes obsolete in 2 years. And so, like if you look at the product life cycle, like I don't know what kind of phone you have or whatever, but you know, if that phone is 2 years old, it's going to slow down.
Yeah.
The battery life is going to start dying.
Yeah.
They have the capacity to make it not like that.
Yep.
I just miss my flip phone with it that I could charge like once every 45 days. And,
I do not miss the Razor though.
You know. Oh yeah. I mean,
I broke 3 of those things.
That's just the shocker of the year, Christian.
Dude, if you dropped them once, they cracked every time. They were like, look it up. It's like the most breakable phone.
You sure it wasn't just because you were so angry talking to him on the
That's
phone?
possible. Well, he didn't know me at that time.
No, I was still learning how to swim back then. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are young.
I am
man.
30 years old.
I'm 35, so you're young.
Yeah.
Way younger than that.
Yeah. Uh-oh. David is looking Dagger's ass over here.
David's like 27.
David is 27 on the dot.
Going on 19.
On the dot. Good old David. He deals with a lot of BS from us. I'm gonna get you back for that business card print, by the way. I just want to say that on record, just so that you know. Branding. I think that when I think about a lot of big corporations, I actually look back to Apple, and I can't remember the name of this book. It's called David. You'd actually know. It's the book that talks about Apple from a brand perspective.
The Apple Experience.
Is that it? Apple Experience. It talks about how a lot of marketing begins outside in, and then Apple went inside out. I can't remember the name of the book. Anyway, I'll have to ask somebody and get back to you. But it talks about how all the other phones talk about how amazing their phone is, and we have all these features and the super duper whatever camera and speed and all this other shit that nobody cares about. And then Steve Jobs comes along and he says, "This phone's going to change your life. Here's how it's going to do it." And it talks about how you're going to have music at the palm of your hands, and music is an integral part of society. And if you ever watch some of those old keynotes with Steve Jobs, it talks about how he's like, oh, this is going to. He would literally say, "This is going to change your life," and then it goes into all the other features about how at the very end of the stuff.
Apple Experience.
The Apple Experience.
Yeah.
The Apple Experience by Carmine Gallo. Carmine Gallo. That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the end of thank you, David. At the end of all of his keynotes, he would always go, "Oh, and one more thing," and then he'd announce something huge and create an audience of raving fans.
Yeah.
So when I think about branding, I wish that more people would take the time to create raving fans or create excitement around it.
You know
so to
who
speak.
needs to be rebranded? Like, this might be an industry for you to look at, actually.
Here we go.
Is the car business. And let me tell you why. So, like, it's happening. So, just like press and like paper marketing didn't evolve correctly into digital marketing, that most of them went out of business.
Yep.
The car market's about to do the same thing. So, you have like the Carvanas popping up where you can order online, you
Yep.
get the vending machines.
Yep.
The Hendrix, these big companies that are already killing it, not thinking about changing right now.
Yeah.
Really, and right now is when they should make that pivot,
Yeah.
turn that brand, and take the market share before they lose it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I think same with real estate a little bit as well,
Yeah.
because they have like where you can buy real estate off your phone now without even.
Yeah,
like,
you don't need a
having to do it.
realtor. Yeah.
Carvana will drop stuff right off your doorstep.
That's insane.
But that's big money rebranding too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
If you get that contract, just remember me.
Yeah, right. Just remember business legends, baby. So, can you think of any particular brands that you work with that were maybe, and you don't have to say their names, I don't want you to get in trouble or anything, but can you think of any that were kind of weird industries or something like that you helped recreate their brand story and made a very impactful difference with them?
Well, I can't say the industry because then it'll like be a dead giveeway. I'm.
It's like a monopoly. So there's this company called Walmart, and I was
that's a really good question. So I would say a lot of people like in the self-help type of field, but not even necessarily like therapists or like doctors in that kind of way, but more so, we're in Charlotte, right? So there's a lot of hippies and, people who buy crystals and people who like to go meditate. I'm one of them. I've got some crystals. I've got a couple crystals on my laptop and I'm on a client call and I'm like just holding it. And I'm like, if I just crush this to dust, I'll feel a lot better.
Right.
So, there's trying to figure out like, okay, well, who's the broader audience to this? Because, we're in a big city. There's a lot of people who are just like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. There's a lot of millennials. I'm a millennial, right? So what are the ways you can tap that larger market without being like in a organic oatmeal and like hemp in your hair and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I can't be more specific than that. Okay. But I think that's been trying to just look outside of, you in your office, who you think is like your ideal people, because that's not a business. Right. You're not going to sustain your business that way.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's one of the things in marketing that any marketing 101 class, one of the, I forget what you call it, but the standard sentence or whatever, they'll say, riches are in the niches, that old adage, I guess. And it's interesting because a lot of times that works, but it depends on your target. Let's say you're an e-commerce company selling shoes or something like that. Yeah. Of course, you want people to be interested in your shoes. So, you got to have the quality, you got to have the experience, you got to have the materials and all that stuff. But how are you going to make more money? Are you going to make more money selling it to hippies, or are you going to make more money selling it to everyone type of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
It creates an interesting brand story, just like you said. As I was sitting here listening to you, one of the companies or industries that I think is like long overdue for a makeover. Like one of them that I think like needs it ASAP is like the cable TV and the satellite TV companies. And I'll tell you why. When's the last time you ever heard somebody say, "Oh, I love DirecTV. Oh, I love Spectrum. I love Time Warner Cable or whatever." Every single time that you call them, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah.
We're on the phone for 30 minutes.
Or every time they called me, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah, it's always horrible.
You are a fantastic customer.
Yeah.
You deserve 3 months of free NFL TV.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Man, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and also here's a $200 more per month on your bill.
On the 4th month without asking me.
Right.
Right, yeah.
This is a true story. That's exactly what happened to me. So they called me. They were like, "Hey, I had DirecTV at the time, and I'll go on record. I will never go on DirecTV ever again as long as I live, like that, like based on this experience." So they called me and they're like, "Hey, is this restart on?" I said, "Yes." That was my golden mistake. "Hey, is this restart on?" I said, "Yes." And that's why to this day, if you call me and I don't recognize your number and you say, "Hey, is this restart on?" I'll say, "To whom am I speaking?"
Yeah.
Because I'm not agreeing to nothing based on DirecTV. So they're like, "Hey, you're one of our valued customers, and we just wanted you to know that we're going to give you a free month of Stars or Encore or HBO or whatever." I was like, okay, whatever. Like,
thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, I guess, whatever. And then next thing you know, my bill is coming in $30 a month more, just based on that, based on them, considering that sale or whatever.
That literally should be thievery.
It literally was.
Yeah.
Like they're calling, and moreover, they're calling me like 6:30. I was at the pool hall at the time, so chances are I had a couple or whatever. And needless to say, they end up just taking that from me. I will never go on DirecTV again. I think, and that's, to piggyback on that, I think that's the reason that you see all these like Disney Plus coming out, and like Netflix is getting a lot more shows, and Hulu and whatever else type thing. Amazon Prime is getting their own thing. So talk to Spectrum,
Talk to Spectrum.
Yep.
Well, and it's interesting because someone had asked me recently, like, "Oh, is your job hard? Is it hard to create this like authentic voice for businesses?" And it's those reasons, like Spectrum and the car dealerships. People don't want to be sold to or tricked into being sold to. So these smaller businesses have a big opportunity, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. We see a lot of, I call it like bait and switching. You see this a lot in the fitness industry. So the fitness industry, you'll have places that'll say like, we're hosting this free challenge, or come in for the free week or whatever. And what they don't tell you is that if you sign on for that, you've also signed on for a year of the membership or something like that. And I firmly believe, and we're having to adapt to this as well, I think that strategy, the bait and switch maneuver, while it might give people an instant source, in the long term, all of a sudden their Google reviews are going to go down, 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 because they're literally baiting and switching people like that.
Which is their SEO, and then when anybody searches them from now on out, I don't care if you
got 3.2 stars.
Yeah, I don't care if you pay us $20,000 in ad spend. If every one of those people see 3.2 stars on your shit, they're going to go, next.
Yeah, maybe I have to reconsider this.
I mean, it's just, you don't matter what you spend if your reputation's shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it.
It's interesting. Have you had any situations like that where you're recovering a company's reputation from having a negative, like having a 3.2 star on Google or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually had a conversation yesterday with one of my clients, and it was talking about the story to, how do you respond to people who write bad reviews? And so that becomes a therapy session, right? So, do you know this person? And, what would you say if she was in front of you, and those kind of things. So making sure that you are still maintaining your reputation when that happens, to make sure that you're trying to keep your story alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting. You can't get along with everybody. Nobody can.
No.
But that's why sometimes, by the way, we have a 5-star rating on Google right now. But, in a day or two, that might change. But,
I have nightmares because I have 5 stars right now.
All right.
I'll have a call with someone and I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to get a 1-star review.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, one of the things that I can speak to Christian's behalf of is that he does a very good job at handling customer expectations. And that's something so crucial and quintessential from a corporate culture perspective, is making sure that customer knows that, hey, you might not get leads instantly, or you might not get reviews instantly. You're not going to appear at the top of Google instantly, but we're working to make that happen.
It's the lies that get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you lie, you're just, if you set the expectations up wrong, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah.
From the beginning, because if you can't actually fulfill, it's almost better to lie in the opposite direction.
Right. Yeah.
It takes 60 days to get leads.
Yeah.
Because then when you get leads in 15 days, everybody's smiling ear to ear.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, we must be special.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say, as long as you're honest,
it helps. It really helps.
And I've disqualified potential clients for that. They're talking one way and then they're talking another way, and I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. I can't market a business like this.
Especially when you have that inconsistency in the brand. We've experienced that more than once.
We had a sketchy business. That's that psychic business.
Oh God. That was. Yeah, we were
With crystals.
No, it was way worse.
This was like a 1-800 psychic business.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And after the fact, they were sketchy in general, and I won't give you too many details on that. But they were
creeped us out.
They were like the it was so creepy. Oof. So it was one of those situations where you call a 1-800 number, and they're gonna do a tarot reading type stuff basically, and I don't believe in that stuff personally. If you do, that's whatever. But it's like they were literally. You were paying for them to scam you, basically.
Yeah.
Because they weren't even doing the readings on the other end.
Yeah.
They were probably just smoking through it. Yeah. What's your name? Cassandra. Oh, okay, cool. Let me just pull this card up real quick. Yeah. So I can tell that you've had some big changes in your life recently. That's probably what they were doing. Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's interesting. I think of what was the other one?
Oh, they also did spell casting. That's what it was.
Yeah, spell casting. Yeah,
What's that?
I don't know.
You asked me love spells, I have this beautiful woman I would like to attract.
Yeah.
You cast me a love spell on her so that my
and then they're on the other
goes
line.
well.
It was a phone service, and they're on the line going boogada boogada boogada, and then they, it's creepy. It was
Harry Potter. It's pretty interesting.
It was something.
We got out of that actually. We actually quit them because that was just bad.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it.
The other one I was thinking about is, God, that guy. He was trying to basically sell narcotics online.
Oh yeah, we
didn't take the contract, but it was
actually legal, believe it or not. I didn't know it, but it's actually legal to do what he was doing, because you had to have some kind of thing to even purchase off of there.
License of some sort.
Yeah, it was an e-commerce for Vicodin and Percocet.
Wow.
But I just don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in it.
It was
so
weird.
I was like, he offered us so much money, and I was like, I can't do it. Sorry, man.
It was,
Sorry, man.
I don't know.
He had more money than God, dude. He was trying to get somebody to market it, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. One of the things I think about, I talk about corporate culture a lot, and I talk about it a lot on some other episodes and stuff as well. But if you one of the biggest dissociations you can have is when your own values don't match up with the clients.
Yep.
Because that to that point, like, this person was going to pay us so much money to do something, but for something that we didn't believe in.
Yep.
We would have never done a great job.
Yeah. And you just can't.
Yeah.
Do you ever have any conversations like that because I know you talked about developing the audience for a lot of the businesses that you work for and how you change from maybe their target being startups to other businesses. But have you ever done any audience identification with corporate culture for folks?
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, even if we do a lot of social media too, and Instagram is huge in the recruiting industry. That's where people are going to see, like, what is your corporate culture really like, So, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nowadays, and it's happened so quickly. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about the cell phone neck. So how everybody has problems with their neck because everybody's looking down at their cell phones. And he goes, let's all take a group, looking up at the sky.
I haven't seen the sky in so
long. The sky, okay. So he was talking about how everybody's looking down at their cell phones, and it happened quicker than we could even prepare for it, because it was an unforeseen circumstance that so many people. And ask any chiropractor, people's neck health these days is the worst that it has ever been in human history, ever, without question. So he was talking about how, from that perspective, we're always out there, and some people might be ashamed or embarrassed or whatever, anxious about appearing on social platforms, but it's like, dude, you already are.
Right.
Like you're already there. Like, you might as well just make yourself a means for it. Make it work for you.
We're too worried about the first reactions, like, oh, why are you doing this, man? We had beers the other night and you couldn't even stand straight. Like, why are you applying to be the president? Like, you did X when you were in high school. Like, people just gotta get past that, like, the fear of your friends, and it's usually the friends and family, which kind of sucks, right?
Oh yeah,
they're the first ones to shoot you down.
Absolutely.
Because they're like, they laugh at your post or something. Yeah, act like it's not serious.
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird that they're the ones that put you down.
Yeah.
It is an interesting thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because most strangers take you seriously at first, as long as your topic's not ridiculous.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So I'm working on the census campaign right now.
Oh,
so
nice.
I don't know if you guys knew, but census year. So you should be getting something in the mail in a couple weeks. And I'm monitoring Facebook comments around the census, and it is just, people have their own little worlds. They do. So
It is interesting how people. It's interesting how people choose to behave online, because how many people do you find posting something that is blatantly rude or wrong or whatever else, and it's like, you wouldn't say that to my face, you know what I'm saying? Like, strangle you or something. You know what
Oh yeah.
People just behave in other ways online. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they do. And right, social media is just the way we communicate now. I heard that actually on a podcast recently, which, people talk about social media as this like separate media form. It is the media form, you know.
It's the only.
It is.
It's literally like, I'm surprised there's even news stations anymore.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting little tidbit, and I don't know if this is one of those statistics that were made up on the spot or whatever, but I actually believe it. So Christian gets 100% of his news from social media, without a question. So what percentage of Americans do you think, and this is just LinkedIn, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, what percentage of Americans do you think get their quote unquote reliable news from those social media platforms?
70%.
What do you think? What do you think, Cassandra?
I would say around there.
92.
Woo!
92% are looking at social media platforms for their
Well, I like
preferred
it
method of-
because most news platforms are Democratic leaning. So it's like you're going to have very biased news almost everywhere.
You get a lot of leaning for sure, but the thing that I think is a
And
little
then
sketchy
Fox
about
is
that-
the other way. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's like all these are Democrat, all these are
Yeah,
Republican.
you get a lot of bias.
And then you got these people on social media trying to pick it and like turn it into a non-biased conversation.
Right.
And that's the reason I like it, is because they kind of dissect the bullshit.
Man, I don't know. I kind of feel the exact opposite. So, I mean, you know how social media works on the inside, and so you know that you can target people based on just about anything.
Absolutely.
Bless you, David.
Yeah.
David just sneezed off camera. So, you can target people based on their political affiliation or who they're supporting, the pages they like, what demographic they're in, their household income, and stuff like that. And I see a lot of news articles that are very polarizing on social media, especially since this is election year. I see a lot of just a lot of stuff that's talking about whoever you support politically.
Well, I'm not saying the information is not targeted. I'm saying when they dissect it, it's less biased usually.
You trust your networks.
Yeah.
You're trusting people who are responding to it.
Yeah, Shapiro's a good one. He'll break it down and take the bullshit out of the media and make fun of how biased it is.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And he's hyper conservative too.
He is, but he brings conservative information to conservatives, right?
Yeah.
Where liberals will bring liberal information to liberals.
See, I think that's the exact thing that's polarizing about it. Because similar to news stations, let's use that again. And I don't remember which way it is. Fox is red and CNN is blue. Is it the way it is, or is it the other way around? Is that okay? Whatever.
I thought news was supposed to be non-biased.
It is supposed to be. Yeah.
Why is it not non-biased?
It's kind of an American perspective, and I don't want to dwell on politics too long, but the American perspective.
We do have our brand expert here.
Our brand expert, but we don't really pay attention much to worldwide affairs either. So we kind of stay in our own little worlds, and I think that since a lot of these posts are very targeted with who they can post or who can see it, I should say. It's almost polarizing people's opinions as well. That's my perspective on it, but we'll see. We'll see if we have any civil wars anytime soon or something like that. So, Cassandra, our guest today, thank you so much for joining us. Let's say somebody needs some help with their brand. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Go to my website, turnthenextpage.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
We didn't ask a funny question.
A funny question.
Why do Democrats have an elephant as a logo?
No, let's.
Why is it an elephant? Why is there an elephant? Why is that branded an elephant?
Wait, I don't think Democrats are. I think the Republicans are.
Why are Republicans an elephant?
I literally don't know. I just corrected you, but that's all I know.
Somebody came up with that.
It's a donkey and an elephant.
Democrats are donkeys.
Yeah, somebody came up with that.
Democrats are donkeys is what W just said on camera.
So we got an ass.
Dave got it easy.
So we got an ass and an elephant. Why is this a thing? I don't understand.
I actually think there's something about the elephant in the room, that expression. Let me introduce the elephant in the room. I think that's a political.
They definitely need to be rebranded. So you need to talk to the government.
I need to talk to the government.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rebrand the government.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, just
people don't really relate to elephants anymore. We need to talk about this.
I don't know. A lot of girls have elephants tattooed on their arms these days.
See?
But you didn't even know why it was an elephant.
You don't either.
Exactly. That's not branding.
He's not a girl, therefore he can't get a tattoo of it. Jesus, we are downward spiraling. Cassandra D'Alessio is our guest today. TurnTheNextPage.com. Next page. Brand strategy.
Yep.
Sorry, I said the website and then I was like, there we go. TurnTheNextPage.com. Next page brand strategies.
Please make our brand amazing, Cassandra.
Make our brand amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.